Welcome back to another video. I am on the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina in the USA, and I'm heading up to a place called Craggy Gardens. It's about 5,000 feet in elevation. I've just stopped off at one of the viewpoints. It's the middle of winter, not much foliage on the trees, and this is the first clear day that I've had in about a week. So I'm not entirely sure what kind of landscape photography I'm going to get, but I just wanted to get out with the camera and explore a little bit. I think the light will be quite contrasty today, but we'll see. Might get some interesting images. So there's about a 10-minute walk on this trail from the car park to a shelter, and this location was a bit of a punt. I didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, this trail under these densely lined trees, again, my knowledge of the North American trees is pretty low, but it's very, very thick, and kind of reminds me of like a scene out of a Tim Burton movie. It's pretty eerie. I can imagine if there was some cloud or fog here, it'd be pretty spooky. So I'm at the end of the Craggy Gardens trail, and it wasn't really what I was expecting, but yeah, it's nice to be up here. It's freezing cold. Wished I brought my gloves with me, but there's a couple of, I think, decent compositions. Actually, what you've got down here, got some low-hanging cloud and various mountain ranges and some features and things like that. You've got obviously residential areas, some towns, villages, so on, which highlight up. So I think actually that side of the ridge you've got kind of a more of an open expanse, but I've got the sun that way. So I've got my G9 set up here, and there's a trail just going here, so I'm using that trail as a leading line, and then I've just got some of these rhododendron bushes as kind of foreground interest, and polarizer just to make the colour in the sky a little bit more saturated, and then a grad ND. Obviously it's not a lot of high cloud today, so the sky's not got a lot of interest, so I'm hoping that that composition will work. So I found my second composition. This one's quite interesting. Unfortunately, my knowledge of North American trees is pretty poor, so I'm not quite sure what that tree is, but that's a nice foreground anchor. So I'm going to use that as part of my composition, because obviously we've got cloud on the mountains opposite, but we don't have any cloud in the sky, which is a real shame. So I'll just bring a bit more interest. And then I have another path kind of leading to it, which again is another nice leading line, and I think this composition will work much better than the first one. I've obviously got some more trees just as foreground interest, kind of mid-ground interest just over here, which really works well. So yeah, it's a nice composition. I'm quite happy with that. I'm about f13, a shutter speed of 50, and my ISO is at 160, so hopefully that'll come out with a nice image. So I'm back at the car park, right next to the visitor centre behind me, which is actually closed because it's out of season. And I'm going to keep heading on the parkway and see what I can find just a little bit further up. I'm not sure if I'll get any viewpoints, but it's worth a try. So sure enough, there's a outlook. I've just parked up, and pretty spectacular view. And actually it's great because the sun is actually illuminating the valley, so the sun's behind me and my camera's pointing forward, so that's good news. Yeah, using some filters, trying to hold a little bit the contrast in the sky back. and there's a little bit of cloud, so that's giving it a bit more interest in the sky. And yeah, the sun's in the right direction. Quite a few people here now. Thankfully it's warmed up, but this is really lazy man's photography. Yeah, parking up and then getting out the car, having this incredible view, and then basically taking a photo of it. So can't complain really, but yeah, it's a great spot. Got my filters on, polarizer, soft ND grad just to hold the sky back, and trying to take some of the foreground interest. Obviously being winter, not a lot of foliage on the trees, so using that as foreground interest for the image. This is going to be my last lookout and photo. It's going to be a challenging one. This is Glassmine Falls. I actually saw these falls way back on the parkway when I started, but they were far away and I wasn't sure if my route was actually going to take me to a point where I'd see them. They're still quite far away, they're way over there, and I have no clue how I'm going to photograph them, so it's going to be a bit of trial and error. I'm probably going to use a very long lens. I might shoot it handheld. I might try and get the tripod out, I'm not sure. It's going to be a challenge, but it's a feature, and as I'm in the middle of the winter you can see all the branches around me. No foliage, no colour, nothing. So it's quite a barren landscape, so it's good to actually have some sort of feature, although I can see there's light and shade on the water that's falling. So yeah, not sure if this is going to work, but we'll try. So I've got the long lens on, 100-400, and can't put my filters on. Not sure it'd be worth it anyway. The waterfall's so far away, but I do have a trick up my sleeve. I can use the high resolution mode on the Lumix G9. That actually does allow to give a sense of some movement in the final shot, especially with waterfalls, so it should work out okay. Yeah, but not an easy image, but I think I've got something. It's always good to come away with something rather than nothing.